Nigerians have continued to condemn the recent statement made by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, discrediting the ENDSARS panel report. Let's get your reaction, sir.
Well, I joined Nigerians in condemning Lai Mohammed, Minister for Information. Yeah, because his comments, his dismissive comments, was just an expression or an instance of usual emotive outburst from a minister who refused to uplift the image and status of his office. He is already a very notorious minister in the eyes of the public. He is known for peddling inexactitude and then just always defensive of positions that are not particularly good. This is another instance. He said, as far as he's concerned, the ENDSARS panel report is a concoction, a rehash of Tales by the Moonlight. Say there was no massacre, and so what the basis for his own position? Before we go to the basis, the question is that how to run a federal government of a country like this? The report itself was not presented for the consideration of the federal government, of which Mohammed is an officer of the cabinet. It's presented to the Lagos state government as headed by the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. That panel report, I can't see the business of Lai Mohammed there. To start talking so magisterially, so pompously. We're just talking, to me, partisanly. They could not elevate the office, that the office is for everybody. We're talking as an APC apologist or apologetic of that political party. That's how he has talked. He gave reasons that are not tenable. And you begin to wonder when somebody who's said to be a lawyer, I find it difficult to really accept that he's a lawyer. All those people that just collect the law degree, I wonder where has been called to the bar and he ever practiced. I doubt where has ever practiced. So maybe he has the degree, but not the experience or the practice, so that will purify and solidify any knowledge of the law. You know, some laymen will assess situation better than him, the way I see it, vis-a-vis the issue of the ENDSARS. The reasons he gave are not tenable. He gave reasons that this panel, true to the dustbin or ignored forensic expert. That was generalization. That was an instance of untruth, and that was a display of proper knowledge of law.
Now, let me ask, isn't it worrisome that the government's mounting pressure towards discrediting and rubbishing this report?
Yes, only that people like us are beyond worry.
Shouldn't Nigerians be also be concerned?
Yes, you see, one thing is this. It's not a matter of being concerned. Nigeria should do the needful. That's what is important. I don't think there's anything particularly that the government of Nigeria, even beyond Buhari, before Buhari, will do that should shock any conscious and prepared Nigeria, because the government of Nigeria behaves as a law to itself. They are accountable to themselves. They are almost dramatically opposite the desire and decision and the aspiration of the normal masses of Nigerian people. So, if that report that Lai Mohammed is strenuously trying to discredit and to influence the appointer of the panel to discredit is normalizing their character. The Nigerian people, they have accepted this report. They have accepted the veracity, the usefulness, the merit of that report. And if you want to know what the Nigerian government will do at any instance, just look at what the Nigerian people will want. Whatever the Nigerian people will want is the exact opposite that the Nigerian government will want. So we are used to it. We are used to this kind of a thing. If the report came, and you see, you are talking of a report that we term here as a kind of Kusheleri report, unprecedented. They set up the report with a particular mindset. Incidentally, the panel came out with a report that shocked them. It can't shock Nigerians because we know the truth. This was only confirming the truth. So, because it will whatever Nigerians people like for good, the government that are administering the territory traditionally tend to go against the progressive desires and ideals of the Nigerian people.
Now, Mr. Ogunlana, reading through the press statement by the minister, I'll crave your indulgence. I want us to talk through some of the various issues that were raised by the minister in his press statement. And one of the statements, was that the report threw away the testimony of ballistics experts who testified before it. Is that right?
First of all, that assessment by him is wrong. It's false. It's not even that the panel is threw it away. You see, there are two forensic experts that made presentation before the panel, and which was scrutinized by way of cross-examination by counsel representing various interests. Anybody going through Lai Mohammed statement will even think that there was only one forensic report. That's an instance of endacity. Yes. There are two reports, and there are portions of the reports that the panel in their report accept. The one that he has mentioned, that is the one that belongs to or came from Oxygen. He did not even quote it to the end. They said they rejected it. There are things that accepted out of that report. For example, that report from Oxygen, and that particular forensic report and the expert was hired by Lagos State government, a party in this situation. It was not an independent forensic expert. It was brought in by a particular stakeholder, the Lagos State government. The other one that was independently engaged for the purposes of fact-finding work of the panel is called the Sentinel. That was Nigerian-based, I think Kaduna or Abuja or something, based and all that, which did a much more exhaustive work than the Oxygen. And even Oxygen itself, in its report, it said that the medical reports that they study show that there are some of the victims who suffered injuries that resulted from contact with military-grade ammunition. But he didn't say that. He didn't include that in his report. It was just something like a blunderbuss, you know. And then I want to say that as a lawyer, as that he is, that expert opinion are not sacrosanct.
He also said that the panel deemed as credible the evidence of forensic pathologist Professor John Obafunwa, that only 3 of the bodies on which post-mortem were conducted were from Lekki, and only one had gunshot injury went on to contradict himself by saying 9 persons died of gunshot wounds.
I know there's no contradiction. This is the problem when you are not truly abreast of proceedings. The panel had an avalanche of sources to draw their conclusions from. So Obafunwa mentioned somebody was perforated with a projectile. That's a bullet. That is evidence. That is out of the 99 bodies that he referred to. He isolated 3 as coming from Lekki. Out of Lekki, out of the 3, 1 suffered death by perforation by projectile, that's by bullet and all that. Does that mean that is the only evidence that people died? That is not the only evidence before the panel. The what of Solomon Abuta, who happened to be my own, I handle his case. Solomon Abuta was shot and was killed, and his people picked him up that night and took him to Mubi or somewhere in Adamawa and buried him. And that was the case before the panel, and we show film and picture of this person. You understand? That's one other person. Sure, you understand? Obafunwa was referring to bodies lodged in mortuary in various places. This other person was not lodged in any mortuary in Lagos. You understand? And then there were people, there were evidence by Sarah Ibrahim, either directly or through documents she presented, of people who came to give testimony that their people died. You understand? All this avalanche. Sarah Ibrahim alone, through her, ENDSARS movement presented about 340 pictures and documentaries. So what is this gentleman, what is he saying? With due respect to him, because I happen to be a Yoruba person and he's an elder. I was told he's about 70 years old. Nonetheless, he remains my servant because he's a public office holder in Nigeria, and we are doing a constitutional democracy, and he happens to be a lawyer. He's actually distorting facts. And to me, unfortunate part of it is that he's not talking out of just innocence. You know, sometimes you can be sincerely wrong. He is talking mischievously, maliciously, deliberately, partisanly, playing politics with that particular report in his usual way so as to discredit it. And then you have to ask yourself, what is Lai Mohammed's business?
Let me also get your perspective on this. The panel, he alluded to the fact that the panel was silent on the family members of those who reportedly killed, merely insinuating they were afraid to testify.
Yes, according to Lai Mohammed, he was saying something that, from what he has said, you will deduce that his position is that the proof of death is by the coming up of the relatives of the deceased. But is that sacrosanct? Is it that in tandem? Is that necessarily so in the reality of life? Up to now, some people don't even know whether their children are involved, or are dead, or are missing. You understand? That is one. Then 2, you are talking of a case of a melee, M-E-L-E-E, of a confusion, of a very serious, riotous, chaotic situation because of the murderous, genocidal attack by the Nigerian military, and then the police later on a mass of young people who are done from all walks of life. They were not from the same university, they were not from the same college, they were not from the same social club, they are not from the same movement. They just gathered. It was more or less like a festival of youths. Most of them, they don't even know their names. Most of them will only know maybe nicknames or first name and all that kind of thing. When we were preparing for this case, To even get the living was hectic. To get the living to testify, because they were shell-shocked, they were traumatized, they were fearful. Many backed out and backed down from participating. There was a day we came with some people in a bus to come out. They were desperate to encourage them to witness when they got to the venue. They refused to even come down from the van, from the bus. They said their parents were there, their ladies were there, said they were not interested again. That so, and they were injured though. These are injured people. And they said, thank God, this lawyer. And we had to bring them out from safe houses. It was not as if they withdrew them from their various homes. We have managed to manage them, manage their emotions to say it is possible. And we are using ourselves as an example that, oh, what about us? Look, this thing happened. So, but if someone like Mr. Lai Mohammed is saying that it's an untenable it's an excuse, that, and then, you know, make it funny. He said, okay, if your person died in Lekki to get to come out to come and identify yourself. So laughable, he was making a parody of a very serious thing. And that's why I countered. And I said, of the 99 bodies that Mr. Professor Bafunwa, as a pathologist, not the bodies, the report of these people, that how many of them were identified by their people and taken away, despite announcement by Lagos State government that if the people come and look at your bodies, if you have how many people came, why were mass burial given to people? So the gentleman probably is just arguing, to save face, and they have to argue to save face because the case went against them necessarily, not because the judges were sentimental, not because anybody unduly influenced them, but because, as per the facts before the panel, if they were to do the right thing, they could not have come to another conclusion that they came to, that there was a massacre and that the Nigerian security of the military and the police were responsible.
Now, from what you just said now, because it's quite evident that the panel report actually indicted the government itself.
Yes.
I mean, despite the fact, one now begins to wonder that despite the fact that it was the government that actually constituted the panel itself, why is the government at odds with the findings of the panel? Was it because it puts the government in a bad light?
Yes. Let me say this. I can't still say yet that Lagos State government, the appointer of that panel, the composer of that panel, is at odds. It is Mr. Lai Mohammed that is doing subordination. And in Yoruba, that's subordination. That is when you are what we call in law, we call you busybody interloper. A busybody interloper. It is Lai Mohammed that is doing busybody interloping. You see? Crime more than the bereaved. That's what he's doing. Lagos State government set up this panel. Lagos State government has not reacted. The only thing they've done is to say we are setting up a white paper coming to issue a white paper that is the position of government, which everybody is waiting for. It remains about 5 days or 4 days. So why is Lai Mohammed and the federal government, if you can take Lai Mohammed as his agent of federal government, why is he behaving like that? I will tell you. He's behaving like that due to your position that they are finding it difficult to accept it because they do not have the decency, you see, as political leaders to accept that they are wrong. I tell you, a panel was set up. Before, the panel was actually set up because of controversy. And now I say controversy. There was no controversy on the manner of the issue of normal, routine police brutality cases. You see, every Nigerians know that the SARS and other agencies used to brutalize Nigerians and injure us in our constitutional rights, freedoms and that. So, and that was not the problem. And you find out that Lai Mohammed was not fulminating about that. Despite that, the panel has given about 70 million, I don't know, as compensation to Nigerians who had been affected. No problem about that. But the one they are worried about was the Lekki shooting incident. That was how Lagos State government first couched it when they were extending the terms of reference of that panel. And that's why Lagos is special and unique in the issue of the this panel of inquiry. It's the only state that had twin responsibility. All other states were focused on only the issue of the abuses of SARS. Lagos is where the horrendous, ignoble, genocidal attack, unprovoked for that matter, attack. And so there was an uproar and there was a lot of controversy over it. And so Lagos State government felt, and I agree with them, the proper thing was to set up a panel of inquiry to rest the matter. And after composing it exclusively, like other stakeholders in that crisis, they too sent in legal practitioners to represent their interests there. And we are not talking of two a penny lawyers. We are not talking of new wigs. These are seasoned practitioners. The leaders of the team were senior advocates with no less than 30 years of practice. And they were there throughout. In fact, they are there more than us. They were there. They participated. They cross-examined. They presented cases. They did this, they did that. They participated fully. When the result now has now come out, it is a federal government that is now weeping more than Lagos State. That's why yesterday somewhere I said, what Lai Mohammed is doing is an act of bullying. They want to bully Lagos State into their own line because the Nigerian military that was indicted is a federal government body. The Nigerian police that was indicted is a federal government body. Yes, the panel actually found out that as at the time the military was called out, they were not necessary at Lekki. But we have to say something. You may like Sanwo-Olu governor, you may not like him and everything, but he's not in control operationally of the Nigerian military and the Nigerian police.
So in other words, it clearly indicted the presidency.
Of course, it clearly indicted the presidency.
Because let me just also get this clarification. It is quite fundamental. Some analysts and critics have said that it is as if the report itself is also trying to shift the blame away from the presidency, alluding to the fact that the governor of Lagos State was the one who actually invited the military, and the military also failed to adhere to the rules of engagement. I mean,
let me say something.
How culpable is also the president in that case?
You see, the thing is this: the governor of Lagos State, like all the governors, they are essentially political leaders without a muscle of enforcement. Even the police, they have to be very nice or come to terms with a pliable commissioner of police to get things done. The same thing, we not talk of the military. Sure, you understand? The governors are civilians. Sure, you understand? I think there was a governor recently, maybe of Taraba, who was saying that governors are helpless when it comes to terms of security. Yeah. And I think that's why the Arewa leaders many months ago, about 5 months ago, were telling the president, it's your duty, not the duty of these governors, to ensure security in their territory. Okay. This is the truth. So when Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, when he say he call out the military and declare a curfew, so did he say go and kill people anyhow? If look at what happened at Lekki, any unmalicious body of enforcer, if you watch the film, will know that what the military did was quite unnecessary. Let me look at it this way. The curfew was set to start by 9. You go there by 6. the military, the evidence before the ban is that they said they were not even aware that the curfew had been shifted till 9 o'clock. I mean, how could anybody believe that? Also, assuming you are not aware, are you supposed, look at the film now, we watch it, they were approaching those civilians as if they are approaching Boko Haram. They were doing a peaceful movement. They spread out like this. We gone at the ready. And these are just a mob, a crowd of young people, frightened apparently. And you know what? You are now shooting up, down, straight at them. And this was caught on camera. There was no rapprochement. There was no engagement first and say, gentlemen, disperse, and not this kind of a thing. You were shooting. And you have to start recoursing to lies that you are shooting blanks. But you have to admit under cross-examination that you came there too with live ammunition. You understand? Yeah. So the police that was doing unnecessary mopping up exercise and evidence presented before them, was it necessary? Well, it was not necessary. From the 8th of October 2020 to 20th October 2020, at that particular axis, there was peace, not pandemonium. There was organization, not chaos. It was more like a youth festival. You understand? Nobody was raped. Certainly no policeman was beaten, was raped, was attacked, nothing was injured. There was no burning. It was no fighting. It was only on the 20th, after the horrible attack on the people by the military and the action of the police overnight, that we now had the issue of sorrow